What? Where are my clothes? You stripped me naked. You saw my body. How could you? Oh no. I was at the company's year-end barbecue. I went to look for the company president's secretary, Emily, who had disappeared, and found her drowning in the river. I quickly took off her clothes. To prevent her body temperature from dropping, put my jacket on her and held her lightly, rubbing her back. After a while, she slowly opened her eyes, but when she saw me, she started to struggle. No! Let me go! Let go of me! She shouted as she hit me on the head. Although she regained consciousness, it seemed there was some misunderstanding. A few days later, I was called to the president's office. As I entered, Mr. Johnson, the president, looked at me solemnly and said, "You need to take responsibility for knowing her secret." Understood? His words made me turn pale. The train will be arriving on platform 3. Please stand behind the yellow line. Wearing an unfamiliar suit, I waited for the train as the announcement played and the train approached. My recent workout seemed to be paying off, as the suit felt a bit tight around the chest. Today is my first day at the new company I was recently hired at. I can't wait to see what new experiences await me. I worked hard during my 4 years at university to gain the necessary knowledge in my field, and finally got a job offer just before graduation. As the train doors opened, a crowd of people exited. Those waiting on the platform boarded one after the other, and I was pushed to the center of the crowded train. The train was packed. I've heard about the rush hour, but this is tougher than I imagined. Pressed in by the crowd and unable to move, I locked eyes with a man standing diagonally in front of me. I hadn't done anything, yet he kept staring at me. I stared back at him, and eventually, he looked away. I have a rule. When I make eye contact with someone, I never look away first. Even though I'm in my early 20s, I never back down from anyone. I always stay unemotional, strong both mentally and physically, and never compromise. That's my way of life. I started working out in college to build my body for this reason. I've never been interested in other people. I have no close friends and am used to being alone. This was largely influenced by a certain person. He was an actor, now deceased. I wanted to be more like him, so I wandered around the city wearing clothes similar to what he used to wear in his old shows. Additionally, I related to the life depicted in his starring films and started reading the original novels, becoming deeply immersed in the hard-boiled world. In middle school, while the boys talked about games and anime, and the girls shared pop star gossip and magazines, I always felt sick watching them. Same old stories every day. Pathetic. Annoyed by the noise, I'd read a book through the boring break times. Being a loner in class, I never sucked up to the popular kids, which made them dislike me. But on the other hand, some girls seemed to find my defiant attitude appealing and I had a certain level of popularity. However, I wasn't interested in the girls in my class, and I reluctantly dated a few who confessed to me just to get them off my back. Naturally, those relationships didn't last long. Even when dating, I wouldn't initiate conversations during breaks, and only went out on dates when invited by them. I never made an effort to spend time together. As I continued these kinds of relationships, the girls began to express their dissatisfaction. "I'm glad you're not a people pleaser, but it's sad not being treated special." As these complaints grew, my reputation as a cold guy spread, and eventually, no more girls approached me. In high school, I started working part-time, and saved up to buy a leather outfit and sunglasses. I got a perm and mimicked everything, from his way of speaking to his mannerisms. At that time, I was completely immersed in becoming my idol actor. I wore sunglasses to school even in high school. I secretly got a motorcycle license without telling my parents and planned to commute on it, but they found out just before I bought the bike. I had already broken school rules and had been frequently reprimanded by my homeroom teacher for my behavior, which caused my mother to face a lot of criticism from our relatives. "Your son is a misfit. You completely failed at parenting." My mother would cry and berate me. "How can you act so nonchalant? Do you have any idea how I feel every day?" But her words didn't affect me at all, and I chose to ignore her. In an effort to help, my father often took me to counseling sessions, but the response was always the same: nothing abnormal. Just a personality issue, with no solutions offered. By the time I graduated from high school, my parents had completely given up and avoided interacting with me. There was someone who moved me emotionally for the first time. It was Owen Johnson, the CEO of a certain IT startup. In his 30s, he was renowned for his vast knowledge and impressive skills, rapidly growing his company and earning a reputation as one of the best in the industry. Mr. Johnson once said in an interview with some magazine, "A man should relentlessly pursue his dreams." That's how I got to where I am today. I was captivated by his words and deeply wanted to work under him. At the same time, I saw in him a way of life I aspired to. From his perspective, what I'm doing probably looks like a child's fantasy. When I'm in front of him, I can't help but feel immature. I wanted to learn about life as a man from him. With a strong desire to be recognized by him, I dedicated myself to my work. The company had a small but highly skilled team, and everyone seemed exceptionally capable. However, I was only interested in Mr. Johnson and focused on my own pace of work. Because Mr. Johnson aimed for a friendly workplace, no senior employees criticized my unsociable nature. Mr. Johnson was close to all the employees and often hosted social gatherings, which everyone voluntarily attended, showing their admiration for him. There was always a crowd around him, leaving no room for me. But I believed that as long as I was recognized for my work, it didn't matter if I couldn't get close to him outside of work. That initial mindset began to change due to a certain presence. A few months after joining the company, Mr. Johnson hired a young and beautiful secretary named Emily. Since her arrival, Mr. Johnson never left her side, making it impossible for me to get closer to him, and I couldn't help but see her as a nuisance. Moreover, Mr. Johnson called her by her first name, Emily. They were always together, sparking rumors among the employees that they were dating. In December, Mr. Johnson invited us to his vacation home for a year-end party. A senior colleague mentioned that this trip was an annual tradition, and that the company owned the vacation home as part of employee benefits. As a first-timer, I was thrilled. Staying at a vacation home? Awesome! On the day of the party, employees with cars gathered at the meeting point, giving rides to others. As usual, I showed up in a leather outfit, riding a cruiser I bought on loan. The employees were captivated by the sound of my bike as I arrived. "Robert, is that you?" I thought it was a biker gang. "Looking good, Robert." "Wow, you look so different," I was surprised. Ignoring the admiring comments, I approached Mr. Johnson. "Good to see you, sir." "Wow, you're looking sharp. That outfit suits you." "Thank you." Emily was still beside him as usual. Is she glued to him since morning? It seems I'm not the only one thinking that. The female employee who adored Mr. Johnson, along with her juniors, looked at Emily with suspicion. Those three are always cold to Emily. Since she joined the company, Emily has been trying to get along with the female employees, actively speaking to them whenever they meet. However, these three respond curtly or sometimes ignore her completely. Among them, the leader, a woman in her 30s, sees Emily as an enemy. Why is she in Mr. Johnson's car? It ruins my morning. She glares at Emily from a distance, filled with hostility. I can't stand this petty drama between women, I thought, glancing at the three as I got on my bike. This secluded vacation home, surrounded by distant mountains, had a cool, refreshing atmosphere. The employees parked their cars and started unloading their belongings. I looked over to see Mr. Johnson escorting Emily into the vacation home with his hand on her back. Is he really infatuated with such a young woman? Feeling a bit disappointed, I started unloading the barbecue supplies from a senior colleague's car. After putting my belongings in the assigned room, I had some time before the barbecue, so I decided to take a walk around the area. The leaves on the surrounding trees rustled with the wind, creating a peaceful ambience alongside the chirping birds. As I walked, I heard the sound of flowing water ahead. Standing by the riverbank, the gentle flow of the river and the birds' songs were soothing to my ears. Just being by the river refreshed my mind. After spending some time by the river, I returned to the vacation home to help prepare for the barbecue. As evening approached and the birds quieted down, the barbecue began. I was in charge of grilling, continuously cooking everyone's food on the grill. Everyone was enjoying themselves, chatting cheerfully with drinks in hand. I wanted to talk to Mr. Johnson outside of work, But he was, of course, surrounded by the female employees, so I couldn't. Mr. Johnson is as popular as ever. A senior employee muttered beside me, as I continued grilling meat. After a while, Mr. Johnson's phone rang, and he stepped into the vacation home while talking on it. A few minutes after he left, I noticed the 3 female employees who had been glaring at Emily earlier were now talking to her. Curious, I watched as they talked for a while before the 4 of them disappeared somewhere. The other employees didn't notice their absence and continued partying. Once I finished my grilling duties, I waited for Mr. Johnson to return, but he didn't seem to be coming back, so I decided to take a walk around. As I walked through the forest, the branches and leaves were illuminated by the moonlight, creating a fantastical atmosphere. Walking in the moonlit forest isn't bad, I thought as I reached the river bank again. The river at night, with the bright moon shining, spread its light over the riverbank. I put my hands in my pockets and closed my eyes, listening to the sound of the river. But then, it happened. I heard a voice from somewhere. Peering closely in the direction of the voices, I saw the 4 women arguing. Coming all the way out here, this is why I can't stand women. My peaceful moment of relaxation ruined, I angrily returned to the vacation home. When I got back to the barbecue area, Mr. Johnson was already there, chatting with the other employees. I sat down and ate my meat, which has gotten cold as the trio returned. They sat away from Mr. Johnson, looking somewhat downcast. Did they leave Emily behind? This is why I dislike women. Thinking that, I throw a charred vegetable down my mouth. Let's wrap this up and move to the rooms for drinks. As night deepened, Mr. Johnson's words prompted the employees to start cleaning up. As everyone worked together to tidy up, Mr. Johnson seemed to notice that Emily was missing. Where's Emily? He asked, looking around. The other employees looked around, but Emily was nowhere to be seen. The area was dimly lit by moonlight. The employees were moved by Mr. Johnson's voice to search for Emily as they split up and dispersed in all directions. As I started to walk to join the search, I noticed the 3 women. They seemed to be whispering about something. They know something. I thought for a moment but continued my search for Emily. Under the moonlight, I remembered the 4 of them were at the riverbank. This was the place. I ran towards the river and looked around the rocks where they had been. Then, I saw something floating in the stagnant pool downstream. Squinting, I realized it was a person. I hurriedly ran over the boulders towards the water. There was Emily, floating on her back. You've got to be kidding me. I quickly kicked off my shoes and leather jacket and dove into the water. Hey! Hang in there. I carried Emily to the riverbank and pulled her out of the water. But she was unconscious. I began unbuttoning her clothes and put my jacket on her to keep her warm. But my hands froze for a moment. What? What is this? Emily's body was covered with an overwhelming number of scars that made me want to look away. Her abdomen had countless cuts, and her chest and shoulders were marked with numerous welts. Her shoulders had many red marks that looked like burns. I quickly put my jacket on her to keep her warm, lightly hugging her and rubbing her back. What could have happened to her to cause this? As I contemplated whether to perform CPR, Emily slowly opened her eyes. Are you okay, Emily? She seemed disoriented, staring blankly at my face. Luckily, the depth of the pool allowed her to be saved, but it could have been much worse. When Emily realized she was in my arms, she suddenly started struggling. What? No. Let go. Let me go. She shouted, hitting my head repeatedly. Hey! Wait! Calm down. It's a misunderstanding. Relax. As I held her wrist to calm her down, she noticed she was wearing my jacket. What? Where are my clothes? No, no. No. She cried harder and struggled more violently, so I let her go. You stripped me naked. You saw my body. I put my jacket on you right away. I only saw a little. I didn't stare. You're the worst. Ooh-wah. She suddenly burst into tears and started hitting me again. I had no intention of doing anything to you. I just didn't want you to drown. But, You didn't have to strip me. It's too much. It's awful. Ooh wah. Thinking how troublesome this was, I picked Emily up in a bridal carry. Ah. What are you doing? Let me go. You're so noisy. We're going back to the cabin. I carried the struggling Emily in my arms and walked back to the cabin. When I arrived at the cabin, wearing just a t-shirt and carrying the flailing Emily, the employees all stared at me in shock. What happened to you, Emily? Then, Mr. Johnson came running over, shouting. I quickly explained what had happened, and he hugged Emily and thanked me. Thank you for saving Emily. He said that, and then took Emily to the hospital, driving away with her. After that, the mood for drinking in the room dissipated, and we decided to head home the next day. Excuse me, can we talk? I called out to the leader of the three women and led her to the side of the cabin. What do you want to talk about? She was clearly nervous, so I decided to probe. I saw what happened. Why did you do that to Emily? Because of you, she fell into the river. I won't tell anyone, just explain it to me. As I coldly pressed her, she began to recount the events hesitantly. Jealous of Emily for always being close to Mr. Johnson, she and two other colleagues plotted to separate them during the year-end party. When Mr. Johnson stepped away during the barbecue, they took Emily to the river and demanded she break up with him. I'm not dating him. There's a significant age difference, and you're misunderstanding. Don't play dumb. You're always hanging around him. You're so presumptuous for a newcomer. As they pressured her, Emily stepped back in fear, slipped, and fell into the river. Help! Glub! Help! Please help! Emily flailed her arms, desperately calling for help. The three women panicked as they watched her struggle and drift downstream. Maybe she can't swim? I don't care. She fell in on her own. The leader fled, and the other two followed, running away. You left her drowning? What do you think a person's life is worth? Enough is enough. I'm sorry. When I glared at her, the terrified senior collapsed to the ground and began trembling. Apologize to her, not to me. Use your own words and apologize properly. I said, leaving her there. Monday. As I commuted to work on the crowded train, everyone except those three women acted as if nothing had happened. I was preparing for work, pulling out my laptop, when a senior colleague told me to go to the president's office. They probably wanted to ask about what happened at the cabin. When I entered the office, Mr. Johnson, with his sharp gaze, asked me to explain the events at the cabin in more detail. Nervously, I recounted everything. But I didn't do anything inappropriate. It was purely a rescue, and I only undressed her to save her life. But you saw her scars, didn't you? I nodded reluctantly. You need to take responsibility for knowing her secret. Understood? As I turned pale and froze, Mr. Johnson chuckled. I'm kidding. I know you're not the kind of person who would do anything inappropriate. But I need to clear up any misunderstandings. Emily is my daughter. I was so shocked that my mouth hung open. She's had a tough life. Mr. Johnson began to quietly recount Emily's story. When he was a senior in high school, he had a girlfriend. She lived with her mother, but when her mother remarried, they moved out of state to live with her new husband. Mr. Johnson wanted to continue their relationship long distance, but soon after she moved, he lost contact with her. His calls went unanswered. And eventually, his number was blocked. It ended up being a forced breakup. But soon after moving in with her stepfather, she discovered she was pregnant. She knew it was Mr. Johnson's child but didn't want to trouble him, so she kept it a secret even from her parents. However, as her pregnancy progressed, her parents noticed her growing belly. They persistently asked who the father was, but she refused to tell them. Since she was already over 22 weeks pregnant, she couldn't get an abortion and eventually gave birth. And that child was Emily. Her stepfather couldn't come to terms with the fact that his partner's child was pregnant. As her relationship with her stepfather grew strained, Emily's mother took Emily and left his house. Determined to live as a single mother, she found it incredibly challenging to raise a child and work at the same time, even at her young age. The stress of childcare and work led her to increasingly take out her frustrations on Emily. From here on, it's a rather distressing story Emily told me. Mr. Johnson began recounting Emily's story. When Emily was in elementary school, her mother got a new boyfriend. Though he initially appeared kind, he soon began to abuse Emily. Her mother, not wanting to alienate him, participated in the abuse. By the time Emily reached middle school, her mother had broken up with him. Relieved, Emily thought she was free, but after breaking up with the man, her mother began to spiral and started drinking heavily. She would suddenly become angry and repeatedly hit Emily. Emily was hit so much by her mother that she almost lost the sight in her left eye. Mr. Johnson said quietly, with a sad expression. "I see, that's why Mr. Johnson always stayed close to Emily and escorted her." Emily's mother would almost always start berating her when she was drunk. "I work so hard for you. Do you understand how difficult it is to make a living? I'm not like you, living carelessly. I'm sorry, Mom, I'm sorry." Whenever something upset her, she would slap Emily's face repeatedly. Emily tried her best to follow her mother's instructions and live quietly to avoid upsetting her, but even then, her mother's temper was unpredictable. "Come here." Saying that, she would grab Emily by the hair and drag her to the bathroom. Horrifyingly, she would push Emily's head into a filled bathtub while still holding her hair. Struggling and gasping for air, Emily would repeatedly apologize, I'm sorry," but her mother never stopped. Eventually, Emily would start choking on the water, coughing violently, which only made her mother slap her face even more. This abuse continued for several years. It became a trauma for her, and to this day, she has a strong fear of water and won't go near any body of water. And those people forced Emily to go to the river. When Emily was in high school, her mother's excessive drinking and exhaustion took a toll on her liver, and she passed away shortly after being hospitalized. Emily learned about Mr. Johnson from her mother's belongings and decided to seek him out for support. He was tormented by the deep sense of loss and guilt upon discovering he had a child, and learning that his ex-girlfriend had endured so much to protect him. He quickly took Emily in, trying to make amends by showering her with love and care. When Emily reached adulthood, he hired her as a secretary at his company. After hearing all this, I understood why he was so protective of Emily. Mr. Johnson, usually so resolute and composed, now seemed deeply saddened. Seeing this unusual expression on his face stirred something in me. Remembering how fragile Emily felt when I held her by the river, and imagining the abuse she had endured from her mother made my heart ache unbearably. In high school, I hadn't been moved when a girlfriend cried at our breakup, nor when my behavior made my mother cry, but now, for the first time, I felt a desire to protect someone. Emily probably panicked because you saw the scars she kept hidden. No one else knows about them except me. Those tears Emily shed. How many times has she cried from pain and sadness? Thinking about the endurance and resilience Emily had to muster made me restless. "Mr. Johnson, which hospital is Emily in? Are you going to see her?" I nodded silently. "Thank you. Right now, I'm the only person she trusts enough to talk to. Since you and Emily are close in age, I hope you can be a good companion for her. Just please keep our conversation confidential." I agreed and left the president's office. The next day, I took the afternoon off to visit Emily at the hospital. When I opened the door to her room, Emily was sitting up in bed, reading a book. Noticing me standing at the entrance, she placed the book on the blanket and smiled at me. Despite all the hardships she had faced, Emily's cheerful demeanor was touching. "How are you feeling?" "I'm fine now. The doctor said I can be discharged in 2 or 3 days." Her complexion was good, and her voice was strong. "I'm sorry for saying terrible things after you saved me." "Don't worry about it. Anyone would be startled to see my face right in front of them when they wake up. I'm just glad you're okay." "No, it was my fault for going to the river when it was dark. I'm sorry for the trouble I caused." She didn't mention anything about those 3 women. As I slowly approached her bedside, I noticed the book she had been reading. "Do you like that author?" When I mentioned the author, she looked at the book and started to talk. Yes, I like stories that make me cry, and his novels often do that, so I read them a lot. She answered shyly. Emily was probably relating these family stories to her own life. Then, in a small voice, Emily spoke while looking at the book. My father told you about me. It must be disgusting, right? A body covered in scars like mine. I couldn't bear to see her looking so sad. I don't think it's disgusting at all. From now on, I'll always be by your side. You won't have to feel lonely anymore. You can count on me. She stared at me in silence, her mouth slightly open. Idiot. What am I saying? Oh, I mean, just that, whenever you need someone to talk to when you're feeling down. That's all, no deep meaning behind it. As I fumbled to explain, she started to laugh. Thank you, I'm happy. But Robert, your face is red. When she smiled and pointed out my red face, I couldn't stop my face from growing even hotter. From that moment on, my cold and indifferent demeanor began to crumble rapidly. During her hospital stay, the leader of the senior female employees visited Emily, apologized, and later submitted her resignation to Mr. Johnson. Although he tried to stop her, she insisted on leaving, saying she couldn't face Emily anymore. A few days later, Emily was discharged and returned to work. During her recovery, I visited her every day. Even after she was discharged, we went out for meals, shopping, and other outings. I, who had never been interested in others, now found myself constantly thinking about Emily. Are her wounds hurting? Is she feeling down? Is she crying somewhere again? On days I couldn't see her, these thoughts filled my mind. I made up my mind. I mean, would you? What? I can't hear you. My heart was pounding, and I could barely speak. So, would you go out with me? I mustered all my courage to confess for the first time at a cafe after work. She was silent for a moment, then smiled shyly and said, yes. After confessing to Emily, I reported it to Mr. Johnson. He decided it would be best to inform the employees about his relationship with Emily and our relationship. The female employees were shocked to learn Mr. Johnson had a child. But soon, some of them started vying for the position of his wife. You read this kind of novel too? I thought you only read hard-boiled fiction. Mr. Johnson noticed the novel I had borrowed from her on my desk and asked me. Yeah, I've been reading these kinds of novels a lot lately. I see. Robert, could you come to my office for a moment? Following his lead, I entered the office, where Emily sat at a desk in the corner, smiling at me. Actually, one of the female employees wants to discuss something with me. Mr. Johnson sighed heavily, looking exhausted. How many is that now? 4. Being too approachable with the employees might not be a good idea. I smiled wryly, and he asked me to take his place for the consultation. Why me? Don't they want to talk to you alone? Exactly. Why should Robert go? Emily suddenly chimed in. Hey, don't look so scary, both of you. Fine, I'll go. He slumped and left the room. I don't need 2 mothers, you know. Emily threw that teasing remark at Mr. Johnson's back, and we both smiled as we watched him leave. I'm an executive at that top-tier company, making $300,000 a year. It's a world apart from being poor. Did you work at a major corporation, Alex? Are you that surprised? It's one of the biggest companies. Actually, I'm going to work with XYZ Corp next. They're launching a new product. I'll show it to you guys, but don't show anyone else, okay? I'm working on the ad campaign to promote it. Alex. I walked up to Alex. My name is John, I'm 30, and working hard. Right now, I'm troubled. It's not about work. I received an invitation to a class reunion and I'm debating whether to go. It's not that I can't get time off, but I just don't feel like attending the reunion. There are a few reasons. Currently, I own a company and I'm quite fulfilled with my work. I hate to admit it, but I dislike being I because of my company and title. People who weren't interested in me before suddenly change their tune when they hear about my company and title. It's uncomfortable, making me feel like they don't value me for who I am. If my old classmates act that way, I dread it. It feels like the pure friendships from school would vanish instantly. Am I overthinking this? The reunion. I didn't go back home for our last one, so it's been a long time since I've seen everyone. I wonder how they've changed. Part of me wants to see everyone, but another part is reluctant. Of course, it's not just because of my company or title. The main reason is, there's someone I don't like. Thinking about him still makes me feel uneasy. His name is Alex. He used to tease me a lot. Hey, what's up? Why are you looking at me like that? Do you want to join us? But nope. You can't, you're injured. So just watch from the sidelines. I know. My parents and the doctor said no strenuous activity. We're playing soccer today, so you just watch and cheer. If you really insist, you can join, but only as the goalkeeper who doesn't move much. I'll just watch. Have fun, everyone. Sorry, I'd really like to include you, but you're on crutches, right? Get well soon. Alex and I went to the same elementary school and preschool. We weren't childhood friends, but we knew each other. He started acting cold towards me in 5th grade. Back in elementary school, I was good at studying and fast at running. I loved soccer. Alex was in the soccer club too. Maybe he didn't like me getting all the attention, always seeing me as a rival. Even so, I was happy. Working hard with a friend. And knowing Alex saw me as a rival. But one day, I got injured. I twisted my ankle playing soccer. The doctor said it was a fracture, and I had to use crutches for a while. That's when it started. Alex began treating me coldly. Too bad you can't play soccer anymore. While you're sitting out, I'll keep getting stronger. Don't be mad if I take your spot. I'm working on what I can at home. And if you become a regular, I'll be happy for you. That's what I can't stand about you. As a kid, I didn't get it, but Alex didn't see me as a rival, he hated me. So, when I got injured, he probably thought, serves you right. While I was sidelined, Alex worked hard and became a regular. But at the same time, he began looking down on me. That guy is so lame now. He used to be good at sports in elementary and middle school. People used to say he was good at both academics and sports. But since high school, he's just a nerd. Probably embarrassed he can't play sports anymore. Hey, I can hear you. I quit the club by choice. So stop talking like that. You quit because you couldn't keep up with me, right? You used to be the one everyone expected great things from, too bad. I'm going to keep pushing in soccer, so you just focus on studying. What's wrong with focusing on studying? I'm working hard to get into a good college. Don't talk like that, we're friends, aren't we? Friends. Don't make me laugh. I've never considered you a friend. We just happen to go to the same elementary and middle school. We're not friends or childhood buddies. It's embarrassing, don't say that anywhere else. Is that so, you really hate me, Alex? You don't get it. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. I don't hate you, I'm just not interested in you. He said things like that, but it was clear he was aware of me. I used to think we could be friends again, rivals like before, but slowly, I started to give up on that. At the same time, I made new friends and felt there was no need to get close to Alex. Even when we ended up in the same class in high school and he would make snide comments. I was fortunate to be surrounded by good people. Thanks to that, I graduated high school without much trouble. I wonder if Alex will come too. Well, we're adults now. He won't go out of his way to make snide remarks. Besides, I'd like to see everyone. I'll attend the reunion. There are people I want to see other than Alex. I marked my attendance and sent back the response. On the day of the reunion, we rented a private room at a bar. Seeing familiar faces made me feel happy. People change a lot in 10 years. Some women had become really beautiful, and some guys were so thin I couldn't recognize them. Looking around, everyone had changed, for better or worse. But I guess I had changed too. Is that you, John? Ha? That voice, is that Sarah? Long time no see. I was sure you wouldn't come, so I'm surprised. I almost didn't recognize you. It's really you, right? I was undecided until the last minute, but I happened to have a day off and wanted to see everyone. Long time no see, Sarah. We've really changed, haven't we? I mean, in a good way, of course. You've become quite handsome, John. Hey, stop it. You've changed a lot too, class leader. Hearing that title after so long feels strange. In front of me was Sarah, a classmate. Sarah was the class leader. So everyone called her by her title instead of her name. I could never forget. Sarah had a very clear and beautiful voice. That voice hadn't changed since our school days. Not only that, her beautiful appearance hadn't changed either. It might be rude to say she hadn't changed, she had become even more beautiful, and it was surprising. I'm glad you came, John. I've been wanting to talk to you. I tried to get your contact information at the last reunion, but you didn't attend. A lot happened, so I couldn't go. I lost all my contacts when I graduated from high school. I thought we were good friends, but you didn't give me your new contact info, so I was shocked. It's not like that. My phone fell in water and I lost all the data. It was cheaper to get a new contract than to change phones. So that's what happened. Everyone's been curious about what you've been up to. Well, I'm just working like everyone else. I answered evasively. If they knew I was running a company, would Sarah's view of me change too? Thinking that, I couldn't bring myself to tell her. But then someone called out to us. The person speaking was, "Long time no see, John. You haven't changed at all. I recognized you from afar. Didn't expect you'd come, are you that free? Long time no see, Alex. It seems we're both still the same. Hey, don't lump us together. There's no way we're the same. Oh, is that the class queen, Sarah? Stop teasing. I was never the queen. That's exactly why everyone liked you. There were plenty of guys who had a crush on you. I bet it's still the same. So, do you have a boyfriend now? Or are you already married? Ha ha ha. Stop asking such rude questions. You're making her uncomfortable. Uncomfortable? Come on, everyone's curious, so I'm asking on their behalf. Unless, are you two dating? It's not like that. Thanks, John. But I'm not hiding anything. I don't have a boyfriend right now. And I'm not married either. Really? It's surprising that the class queen isn't married yet. Actually, I'm not married either. Maybe we're destined to be together. Just kidding. You might be drinking too much. Us dating, that's a funny joke. It's not a joke. I'm serious. Guys in their 30s are fine, but for women, it's different, right? So, how about dating a handsome guy like me? You're still the same, Alex. Oh, someone over there is calling you. Huh? Well, they can't have fun without me. Hey, Sarah, let's talk more later, okay? With that, he happily walked away. Alex had changed, but in a bad way. He didn't used to be so arrogant and self-centered. But somehow, he had become like that. He's changed. Alex. You didn't know, did you? Alex is working for a pretty big company. He was supposed to start his own business. But he's earning well at a major firm, so he keeps saying he'll do it eventually. Is that so? He's working hard, then. That's not the problem. His attitude has changed. He says things like women should obey men because he has money, women should stay at home. And poor people are pitiable. I heard he's been saying things like that a lot. Really? I wouldn't get along with that mindset either. Right? When we met at the last reunion, it wasn't this bad, but did you know about the reunion we had at 25? Yeah, I knew about it. I got the invite but was too busy with my company to attend. By then, he was already like this. Honestly, I couldn't keep up with him. But there are people who don't mind. I glanced over at Alex. The women around him looked delighted, clinging to him. Alex wasn't a gloomy person, and he got along with everyone, but this was different. It was like everyone was just flattering him. That was what I feared the most. Having money and working at a big company really changes people. I was thinking the same. Sure, having money and a good job is important, but we never thought about that as students, right? No one cared about dating the top student or marrying an athlete. It's sad. Exactly. I have a big company too, and I hate when women change their attitude because of that. Not that all women are like that, but I understand. It's easy to be judged and stereotyped. Sarah looked into the distance. Her profile seemed a bit forlorn. But our peaceful moment didn't last, as Alex came back like a storm. Hey, how about we all go out for drinks sometime? You mean like an after party today? No, I want us to get together again, apart from the reunion. I'll pay for everything. What? You'll cover the whole bill? That's a bit much. Don't lump me with you. I work for a major company, you know? I'm an executive at a top-tier firm. Wow, really? That's impressive, Alex. You've worked hard. Unlike you. So, Mr. Bookworm, what are you doing now, John? I'm currently. I thought about giving him my business card, but then everyone would know my company name. But hiding it or lying felt wrong, so I hesitated. Alex didn't miss that moment. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Must be a no-name company, right? My bad for asking. That's not it. Don't worry. I get what you're trying to say. So, I guess I'm the most successful one in our class, huh? Not everyone can be an executive at a top-tier company. Look at those girls, their eyes are sparkling. Some of them are married or have boyfriends. Yet they're all over me, calling me cool and amazing. Feels great. Alex whispered this to me, clearly enjoying himself. Is that so? I don't really get it. You don't get it because you've never been doted on. Don't kid yourself. And hey, your remarks are off. It's not I don't get it, it's I don't get it because I've never been doted on. I envy you, right? Stop it. You've been sounding really rude. Calm down, Sarah. We're not that close, so stop calling me like we're old friends. Back then, everyone held back because you were the class queen. But now, don't you think I'm a fitting match for you? What are you talking about? I mean, I work at a major company now, and I'm not bad looking. Honestly, guys like me are rare. I don't understand what you're saying. To be blunt, I want to go on a date with you. What do you say? People enjoy dating me, you know. They get to eat delicious food. Get brand name accessories. You'd have a good time. Thanks, but no thanks. I buy what I want myself. I don't rely on a boyfriend or husband, let alone a former classmate like you. Sarah shot back. Alex, not expecting that, looked surprised, then embarrassed, and quickly rattled off. Okay. It's fine, I can always get a girlfriend. Anyway, you both are joining, right? It's rare to get everyone together like this. I'm planning it for next week or the week after. Sure, I'll join. What? Sarah, you're going? Yes. I'm thinking of joining. How about you, John? Sarah looked a bit anxious. Maybe that's why I found myself agreeing. Alright, I'll join too. I'll send you the details, so make sure to check. Alex said that and went back to his group of admirers. Meeting Alex again. Honestly, I felt a bit down, almost wanting to sigh. Sorry. It's because I said I'd go, right? You looked worried, so I thought I'd check on you. I didn't really want to go, but look at Jessica. Jessica. Oh, Sarah's friend from school. Yes, Jessica. Recently, she's been talking about wanting to marry Rich, and she's excited to see Alex. Frankly, I don't want her to date him. It's Jessica's choice, of course, but it doesn't seem like it would end well. I see. So you decided to go to look out for your friend? You're still as considerate as ever, kind-hearted. It's not that. I just want my friends to be happy. Sorry if it feels like I dragged you into this. I understand wanting your friends to be happy. I decided to go because I didn't want you to feel bad. So, don't apologize. You've really changed, John. Huh? How have I changed? You seem more confident with women. No way. I've been focused on work, and I haven't dated recently. It's not like I'm used to it. Is that so? It felt like you had more confidence than back in school. Maybe it was just my imagination? Don't tease me. I just want to communicate clearly because of my job. Got it. Thanks for caring about me. The reunion ended. At home, I wasn't thinking about Alex, but about Sarah. I liked Sarah back in school. Meeting her again, it wasn't like I suddenly realized I still liked her. But somehow, I couldn't get her out of my mind. The following days were busy with work. And before I knew it, the day to go out with Alex and the others had come. Fewer people than the reunion, but still a good number. Alex had rented out a nice restaurant, and he was smiling happily. Hey, you too. Long time no see. Well, it's only been 2 weeks. Did you come together? You two are pretty close, huh? It's not like that. We just ran into each other in front of the restaurant and came in together. I see. You don't often get a chance to eat such delicious food, so enjoy it. Thanks, we'll take advantage of it. I thought Alex would stick to Sarah again or ask her out on a date, but today, he seemed quieter than last time. He was talking and having fun with our other classmates. That's a relief. A relief about what? Oh, I'm glad Alex isn't bothering you or Jessica. Thanks for worrying about us. What the hell, you make me sound like a troublemaker. Were you listening? When did you come over here? I thought I'd join the conversation. Do you know why I didn't hit on Sarah today? Because she's not suitable for me. Not suitable? She works a lot and supposedly got dumped by her fiancé. Where did you hear that? I don't remember, but I heard it. It's good to work, but you should be careful not to lose your charm. If she married someone capable like me, she wouldn't need to work. I've got money, unlike someone here. He announced this loudly to everyone. When he said someone, he looked directly at me. He wanted to show he was superior to me. I wondered if coming here was a mistake. My company is huge. No one's never heard of it. And I'm an executive. I make $300,000 a year. It's a world apart from being poor. Wait, you work at a big company? Why so surprised? It's one of the biggest firms. When did you become an executive? Just last month. I was surprised when they offered it, but it makes sense. A guy like me is rare, so it was inevitable. I don't recall giving you a raise. Huh? What are you talking about, John? Because that company. Not giving a raise? Huh, of course not. You don't work there. Have you had too much to drink? Are you okay? No, listen to me. I work at that company. In fact, I'm going to be working with XYZ Corp next. They're launching a new product. I'll show you all, but don't show anyone else. I'm working on the ad campaign. Alex. My loud voice startled Alex. And everyone around us. But I couldn't worry about that now. What do you think will happen if you show that to everyone? Why are you making that scary face? What are you talking about? That's classified information. You're not supposed to show it to anyone. And working with XYZ Corp was supposed to be a secret too. How do you know about that? Because the company you work for, even if it was recently merged, you should at least know the name of the chairman. I handed him my business card. Alex's eyes widened as he looked back and forth between the card and my face. Our classmates did the same. Sarah was among them. No way. Chairman? The famous global company with many overseas branches. The chairman is you, John? I didn't mean to hide it, but I didn't think it was something to brag about. Now, you understand, right? I. I. Alex, you said you became an executive, but what was the company's name before the merger? I can't say. I mean, it's, well, never mind. We'll look into it thoroughly. You mentioned a raise, but there haven't been any significant raises recently. Some people had their salaries adjusted based on performance, but your name wasn't among them, Alex. Well, our classmates seemed to catch on to the situation from our exchange. Some looked uncomfortable, while others chuckled quietly. No wonder. Alex had boasted about working at a major company, rented out a restaurant, and laughed at others for being poor. He even hit on beautiful women. Many must have found his comeuppance satisfying. We'll have to discuss this thoroughly within the company. If you've shown classified information here, it's likely you've shown it to others as well, right? No. I don't think so. You don't think so? You should know if you shared company secrets. Do you know if you have or not? Sometimes when I drink, my memory gets fuzzy. I think it's fine, though. This is unacceptable. We'll investigate thoroughly. Consider your position in the company terminated. Why are you turning on me now? Just because you're the chairman? You didn't say anything at the reunion, just smiling like an idiot. I didn't care then because you were just another person. No matter how much you tried to show off, I wasn't interested. But now, it's different. Alex, you're an employee of my company. If you're doing something wrong, it's my duty as your superior to address it. Oh, sure, acting all high and mighty now because you outrank me. I get it. You're just trying to put me down. Maybe you don't remember, Alex, but I do. You once said, the opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. I didn't care where you worked or how much you tried to show off. But when I heard the name of your company, I couldn't ignore it. It turns out you were actually working for a subsidiary of my company. Alex's company's name wasn't that unusual. I had wondered but didn't pursue it deeply. But now, it was clear. Alex worked for a subsidiary of my company. I couldn't just overlook this. Not that it's a matter of leniency. If I let Alex continue unchecked, it could lead to major issues for our company. I immediately stepped away and called the office. Later, I arranged a meeting with Alex. But Alex ran after me. I'm sorry. I won't let this happen again. Please forgive me this time. I just became an executive. I can't afford to mess up now. The responsibility lies with you, Alex. Being an executive means supporting the company and its employees. You can't handle that responsibility. We're not a charity. No. But Alex crumpled to the floor. After settling the bill, he disappeared. He probably didn't want to be laughed at or have rumors spread. After Alex left, everyone kept chatting, somewhat amused by the situation. I don't like this atmosphere. I'm going home. You're leaving? Then I think I'll go too. It's not fun without you, John. Really? You don't have to follow me. There are still other classmates here. I wasn't planning on coming today, remember? I only came because I was worried about my friend. Can we talk a bit on the way to the station? Honestly, I felt a little disappointed. I liked Sarah as a person. But if she suddenly turned around and said she wanted to date or had always liked me, I wouldn't know how to react. What's wrong? You look troubled. Well, I didn't plan to reveal my company's details, now I regret how it turned out. Is that all? Don't worry, I'm not going to start hitting on you just because of that. What? It's written all over your face. You looked a bit disappointed. Don't worry, I'm a woman who can stand on her own. Sorry if I made you uncomfortable. It's fine. But it does hurt a bit to be treated like everyone else. Sarah handed me her business card. The company name on her business card was... What? You work for this company? It's a huge firm. Yeah, I love my job and I love who I am when I'm working. But my fiancé left me because of it. That was 2 years ago. Still, I love my job and I won't change for anyone. That's really cool, Sarah. Right? I don't like the idea of because you're a woman or because you're a man. I think it's fine to live doing what you love. Yeah, I think so too. Too bad for you, though. I didn't fall for you. Sarah gave me a mischievous smile. That smile hadn't changed since our school days. Ha ha ha. I can't win against you, class leader. Stop calling me that already. Oh, you. Honestly, it was me who fell in love with her after seeing that smile. After some persistence on my part, I managed to start dating her. Now, we're both working hard and supporting each other. We have a good balance and are great partners. As for Alex, he resigned from the company and faced lawsuits for damages. Not just from our company, but also from the other firm. He's now in debt and struggling to find a new job. But the saying, the opposite of love is indifference, holds true. I've moved on from Alex, focusing on Sarah and our future together. My name is Jack Smith, and I'm a 60-year-old man. Every day, I work hard in a factory, sweating and toiling away. That's why my work clothes are stained with oil and grime, and I always feel sorry for my wife who has to wash them. But my wife doesn't mind washing my work clothes and never complains about how dirty they are. However, our neighbors have been saying things like, "That guy's always in filthy work clothes." Indeed, my work attire isn't very clean. Actually, it's quite dirty, and I might look shabby wandering around in it. Sometimes, after work, I buy my wife her favorite sweets, but even the staff at the bakery give me strange looks, making me realize how judgmental people can be. People just prefer the look of a suit. A clean suit does make one look competent and, being a white-colored outfit, it looks impressive. Recently, I saw a TV show ranking low-status jobs. Watching it shocked me quite a bit. Jobs without suits were labeled as low status, and work clothes were called dirty and smelly. I do own a suit, but I usually wear my work clothes. They're just more practical for my job. I keep a suit at the office, but the work clothes feel more suited to me. After decades of wearing them, they feel like a part of my body. One day, I got a call from a guy named Mike. He wanted to buy $10 million worth of parts from our company. I never expected such a huge order, so I decided to meet Mike to seal the deal. The idea of a $10 million order made me quite nervous. So, I headed to our client, Johnson Industries. Johnson Industries is well known in our industry. It's not a huge company, but their product craftsmanship is widely recognized. Johnson Industries products are used globally, and their exports have been increasing. They'll likely expand their exports even more in the future. With the recent economic recovery in the US, I figured they'd seize this big opportunity. To explain things clearly to Mike, I prepared some detailed materials. Our parts are precision equipment, and even a slight mistake in their use can cause serious problems. They can break easily and, at worst, cause a short circuit. So, I included thorough explanations. This way, Mike will understand my presentation. Oh no, I have to hurry or I'll be late for the meeting. I guess I'll go in these clothes. I wanted to change into a suit, but there wasn't enough time, so I headed to the meeting in my work clothes. I felt it might be a bit disrespectful, but I hoped they'd understand I was coming straight from work. Surely, no one would tell me to my face that I looked dirty in my work clothes. Or so I thought until then. I hurried into my car, started the engine, and drove to Johnson Industries. The roads were a bit congested, but I took a detour and managed to arrive on time. I informed the security guard about my appointment, and he let me in. The Johnson Industries premises were clean and well organized, impressive for a mid-sized company. Someone must take great care in maintaining the place, I thought. I quickly headed to the reception desk after parking. A beautiful receptionist told me the meeting room was on the 4th floor, so I hurried there. As I waited outside the conference room, a tall man in a sharp suit appeared. This must be Mike. A woman who seemed to be an office assistant unlocked the room for us. Please, come in. I'll bring some drinks right away. Thank you. I'll go in then. All right. Thank you. Then, the woman brought some coffee. My throat was parched with nerves, so I asked if it was all right and then gulped it down. It was in a small cup, which I appreciated. Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Mike from sales. Can we talk for a moment? Hello, I'm Jack. Oh, no need for introductions. What? Mike glared at me. It felt like being stared down by a snake, and it gave me chills. Mike's narrow eyes looked icy, and I couldn't tell what he was thinking. Why did you come here dressed like that? Do you think we're a joke? Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't have time to change and came straight here. It does look dirty, doesn't it? Yes, it is dirty. Only people from the bottom of the barrel wear work clothes. They're for factory workers who didn't even finish high school. Really, coming to a business meeting dressed like that is just what I'd expect from someone at the bottom. I didn't get my degree to talk to dirty people in work clothes. I see. I'm not bragging, but I graduated from K College. I don't want to associate with people in work clothes. If my parents knew I was working with someone like that, they'd cry. They sent me to college for a reason. I tried to calm Mike down. But his tirade didn't stop. He kept insulting me, talking about how dirty and pathetic people in work clothes are. I did feel bad for coming in my work clothes. But there's no need to insult me like that, and I felt frustrated. As I endured it, Mike held a cup of his coffee and started grinning. Maybe his throat is dry from all that talking, I thought. But no, I was wrong. He stood in front of me and poured the coffee over my head. See, now you're a bit cleaner, right? This is hilarious. Now leave. I don't want to talk to or do business with someone in dirty work clothes. This meeting is over. Get out, bottom feeder. I was soaked from head to toe. I smelled of oil and coffee. Feeling utterly miserable, I stood there as Mr. Davis walked in. Hey, Mike, what on earth are you doing? Oh, this guy came in work clothes, so I poured coffee on him. It's dirty, but maybe the coffee cleaned up the dirt and smell. What the hell have you done? Mr. Davis's face turned pale, and he started trembling. Mike still didn't seem to understand why he was so angry. Mr. Davis, why are you so upset? Let's just send this dirty bottom feeder away. I never thought someone so shabby would come to this meeting. Let's cancel this order. Hey, this man is Jack Smith, the CEO of Smith Corporation. What? Didn't you know? This is the CEO of that major corporation. No way, this man is the CEO of Smith Corporation. Yes, I was indeed the CEO. I was the CEO of the major company, Smith Corporation. But I usually wore work clothes. Mike must have thought I was just a regular factory worker. Our company has several factories, including one next to the headquarters. However, our sales department usually handles business meetings. So why was I here instead of a salesperson? There was a reason for that. When we received the order, our top salesperson, Tim, volunteered to handle the meeting. Tim was very competent, and I was initially going to let him handle it. But suddenly, during work, Tim complained of severe stomach pain and was rushed to the hospital. What happened was that he had appendicitis. His appendix was about to burst, but surgery saved him just in time. However, he needed to stay in the hospital for a while, so I couldn't rely on him for the meeting. He felt very apologetic, but I told him, take this time to rest. He works hard all the time, so I didn't want him to worry about work while hospitalized. So, I ended up coming here in his place. I could have asked someone else, but everyone was very busy. The sales department had many projects, and it wasn't easy to entrust them with a $10 million deal. So, I decided to handle it myself as the CEO. Mike probably never imagined someone like me could be the CEO. If I had introduced myself first, he might have realized I was the CEO. I thought it was partly his fault for interrupting my introduction. If he hadn't done that, he might have realized I was the CEO, even in dirty clothes. It was a foolish thing to do. Since he poured coffee on me, Mr. Davis was furious. He approached Mike and immediately ordered towels and rags to be brought. Mike, you'll clean up the mess you made. Now, get the best towels from the office and give one to Mr. Smith. Then, clean the floor with a rag. But I didn't know. How could I have known that this man was Mr. Smith? He looks dirty and like a regular factory worker. If I'd known, I wouldn't have done it. Do you think that excuse will fly? You did something unimaginable to an important client. You seem to have no awareness of that. Well. Just go get the towels now. So, Mike left the conference room to get the towels and rags. After a while, he handed me a high-quality towel. Then, he got down on the floor and started cleaning the wet spots carefully. I felt a bit sorry for him, but this was his punishment. Whether I was the CEO or not, pouring coffee on someone is unacceptable. Even a grade schooler wouldn't do that. What was he thinking? It felt like his prestigious college education was wasted on such foolish behavior. I may not have a formal education, but I don't judge people by their appearance. It's something I'm proud of. Mike was crying as he cleaned, and it was hard to watch. Mr. Davis ordered him to leave after he finished cleaning the floor. Then, Mr. Davis said he would like to reschedule the meeting with me. I was soaking wet, so I decided to head back to the company to change. When I got back, my employees were shocked to see me. Even though I had dried myself with the towel, I was still wet, and they wondered why. It was sunny outside with no sign of rain. I laughed and told them that Mike at the client meeting had poured coffee over me. Then, one of the sales staff, Jim, said to me, "Mr. Smith, why didn't you yell at him right then?" I couldn't have tolerated that. It's unbelievable he did that, not realizing you were the CEO. He must be out of his mind. Well, I was taken aback, and I didn't think yelling was necessary. But why? He poured coffee over your head, right? You had every right to be angry. You're too kind, Mr. Smith. It's not about being kind, maybe I lacked confidence. I knew going to the meeting in these clothes was inappropriate. So, somewhere in my mind, I thought I deserved it. It was shocking, but I knew I should have changed into a suit. But, Mr. Smith, you always work on the factory floor, helping with the machines, right? I know you didn't have time to change. I wish I had gone to Johnson Industries instead. But Jim, you also have a lot of projects. I couldn't ask you. With Tim in the hospital, I felt I was already burdening the sales team. So, I decided to handle it myself. It's over now. But thank you for standing up for me, Jim. You're very kind. I couldn't do anything to help you, Mr. Smith. When I got hired, I was so happy and swore I'd repay you, but now this happens. I'm so frustrated. Jim cried for me. Just having someone care this much meant a lot to me. Even though my neighbors judged me for my dirty clothes, I was grateful for my supportive employees. By the way, my neighbors don't know I'm the CEO of Smith Corporation. I don't live in a mansion, just a regular apartment, so people assume I'm just a factory worker. Why do I, the CEO, live in a regular apartment instead of a mansion? There's a reason for that. My wife and I don't have children. She's infertile, so trying to have kids was futile. But instead, we volunteer to help children in underprivileged countries. We do this entirely out of our own pockets. Kids in these countries often can't even visit a hospital, so they suffer from severe illnesses at a young age. In some places, they can't even afford toothbrushes, and it's not uncommon to see young children with no front teeth. Buying medical supplies, donating to hospitals, and delivering toothbrushes quickly exhausts our funds. But it's what gives my life meaning. As the kids grow up, they go to school, learn to write, and send me letters. I feel like I have children all over the world, even if they're not biologically mine. No matter how dirty or poor people say I look, I'll do anything for those kids' smiles. So, I didn't mind donating a large portion of my executive salary. If those kids can grow up happy, that's all that matters. Even my employees didn't know about this. It was something my wife and I did quietly. I received another call from Mr. Davis of Johnson Industries. Apparently, Mike had caused other problems and was demoted. He had been harassing a high school graduate employee who became depressed and had to take a leave of absence. They couldn't keep him at the main office anymore, so they sent him to a remote location. It seems there are some strict supervisors there, so Mike will have a tough time. Maybe he'll realize how mean he's been. Regarding the parts order, we'd like to change it from $10 million to $100 million. What? Wait a minute. From $10 million to $100 million? Yes, we just released a new product that's selling well. We want to upgrade it for next year's model, and your parts will enhance its performance. We expect the next year's model to sell even better, so we want to place a $100 million order now. Thank you. That's an incredible opportunity. We'd be happy to help. Please do. In the end, Johnson Industries placed a $100 million order with us. We never expected such a large order, so it's a big deal for us. I immediately decided to hire more staff. Even running the factory at full capacity, we're just barely able to meet the deadline. Our factory operates in 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, but we don't have a large workforce. When we advertised for more workers, a foreigner applied. His name was Daniel. He was very fluent in English, and when I asked why, he said he attended an English language school in his home country. When I heard more details, I found out it was a school I had funded. I was known as the clown uncle there. I always dressed as a clown, giving out gifts. Whether at children's hospitals, schools, or anywhere, I was always in a clown costume, entertaining everyone. In my youth, I practiced street performance as a hobby, so being a clown came naturally. Daniel was surprised to learn that I was the clown uncle. Wow, I had no idea you were the one who built that English language school. I'm shocked. I'm surprised too. I didn't know you studied there, Daniel. And I might have met you before. What do you mean? Actually, he mentioned he grew up in an orphanage and remembered an American clown uncle visiting. When I told him that was actually me, he was moved to tears. Daniel lost his parents in a revolution and became an orphan. He lived in an orphanage and was so shy that he couldn't make any friends. The teachers didn't know how to handle him, but then I came along and made him laugh and smile. I was young, and Daniel was just a little boy back then. I don't remember much from those days, but Daniel shared his happy memories with me. After losing my parents in the revolution, I was depressed. Everyone else was cheerful and played with friends, but I was too shy to talk to anyone. Then you came along. I see. I can't remember who was who, but you were there. Yes, I was. After that, I realized how kind American people are and became interested in the US. So, after leaving the orphanage, I attended the English language school you funded. It was just a shabby hut at first, but it seems to have become quite reputable now. I'm glad to hear people enjoy attending. You helped me back then. So now, Mr. Smith, it's my turn to help you. You're doing a big deal with Johnson Industries, right? Let me work hard as a factory worker and help you out. All right, I look forward to working with you. Let's do our best together. It was my first time hiring a foreigner, so I consulted with an immigration lawyer about the work visa. Then I officially hired Daniel to work in our factory. Daniel worked diligently and boosted our morale. Seeing a young man from another country working so hard inspired the other workers. Although I'm the CEO, I worked alongside everyone in the factory. Jim came over and started helping with inspections. Jim, what are you doing here? What about your sales duties? I finished my rounds for today. I don't know much about machinery, but I can help with inspections. Please let me contribute. All right, please handle that. I feel bad making you do this, though. Seeing Daniel working so hard, we can't slack off. When I see his enthusiasm, I feel like we can do more too. Thank you, Jim. It means a lot. I'll leave it to you. Jim learned the basic inspection tasks from the other workers and started helping. Seeing him, other sales staff also came to the factory to assist. Daniel handed them parts for inspection. Jim, please check these. They're precision parts, so be careful. Got it. Thanks, Daniel. You're doing great in this heat. I'm exhausted. The factory is full of machines, so it's very hot. But I'm grateful just to have a job. In my country, even if you want to work, there are no opportunities, so everyone is unemployed. I'm thankful to be able to work here. Right, we should be grateful for having work. I'll follow your example, Daniel. You're so impressive for someone so young. Jim didn't know about Daniel's past, he just saw him as a hardworking young foreigner. But during a break, he overheard Daniel's story from him and Chris. Although it was a coincidence that Daniel joined our company, Jim learned about my support for underprivileged children. My past encounter with Daniel, and his time at the English language school I funded. Jim, who tends to be emotional, started crying. I had no idea Mr. Smith did such things. You're truly remarkable. I don't know if it's remarkable, but I did what I wanted to do. I'm glad you and Daniel reconnected. It must be fate. Maybe God brought you together again. Maybe so. Alright, let's wrap up our break. We still have a lot to produce. We need to finish the remaining half within a week to meet Johnson Industries' deadline. Right. It's a $100 million contract, after all. Let's give it our all. To fulfill the $100 million contract, we worked tirelessly. My work clothes were filthy. Covered in sweat and oil, they were so soaked that water could drip from them. And at my age, my body ached all over and felt like it was screaming. But I couldn't let this big opportunity slip away, so I worked with all my might. Everyone else worked hard, sweating profusely. I couldn't rest just because I was older, so I pushed myself despite the pain. Somehow, we managed to produce the $100 million worth of parts by the deadline. Towards the end, I felt an adrenaline rush, and no matter how hard I worked, I didn't feel the pain. This must be what they call a burst of strength in a crisis. Even though it wasn't an actual crisis, we managed to pull through with unexpected strength. Whoa! We did it! Daniel, great job! I can't remember the last time I worked this hard. But it feels amazing. Yes, it really feels good. There's a sense of accomplishment. Now we can deliver to Johnson Industries on time. I'm so relieved. Well done, everyone. You really pulled through. Thanks to you, we made it. I'm sure Mr. Davis will be thrilled. Let's celebrate tonight with a fancy barbecue. Wow! Really? Awesome! Thank you, Mr. Smith. I've never tried barbecue before. And fancy barbecue at that. I wonder what it tastes like. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. I contacted Mr. Davis immediately and informed him about the delivery. He was delighted. We managed to make the delivery on time. Mr. Davis apologized for the rush and brought us expensive fruits as a token of appreciation. He had melons and watermelons that cost $300 each, which was surprising. Daniel mentioned that in his home country, fruits are sold by the kilogram and are quite cheap, so he was shocked by how expensive those fruits are. Indeed, in his country, salaries are low, but so are living costs. Vegetables and fruits are bought by the kilo, so American prices must be surprising. Please, enjoy these fruits. You worked so hard in this heat, and this is the least I can do. Wow, is it all right for us to have such expensive fruits? Yes, it's fine. They're very delicious, so please enjoy them. Thank you. We're very grateful. Thank you so much. I'm sure our company will grow even more thanks to all of you at Smith Corporation. I hope we can continue to have good business relations. I'm sorry for the trouble our former employee caused you. Oh, don't worry about that. I'm not angry anymore. He ended up causing problems even at his new location, so we had to let him go. It turns out he hadn't changed at all. It's unfortunate. But some people just don't learn. Yeah, sometimes there's just no way to get through to some people. It can't be helped. Well then, I'll take my leave. I'm sure we'll be placing another order soon, so I look forward to working with you again. Even though we were going out for barbecue tonight, we couldn't resist eating the chilled fruits. Well, they say there's always room for dessert, so why not? Then, we went to the fancy barbecue place to celebrate. Everyone was starving. After working so hard these past few days, I was craving some meat too. I'm 60, but my stomach is still strong, and I can enjoy good meat. We kept ordering more meat, but with so many guys, it disappeared as soon as it was cooked. Go ahead, order more. Don't hold back. But isn't this meat really expensive? The prices look like there's an extra zero. Don't worry about that. Daniel, you're young, and if you're going to keep working hard in the factory, you need to build up your stamina. Well, if you insist, I'll take you up on that offer. Can I order more too? I'm starving. I can eat as much meat as I want after having fruit for dessert. Sure, order as much as you want. Tonight is a celebration, and no one needs to hold back. Yay! Mr. Smith, you're the best. You're the big boss. Well, only my beer belly is big, though. Good one. The barbecue we had together was absolutely delicious. Being able to eat such expensive meat is a testament to how hard I've worked. I may only have a high school education, but I've always been dedicated to my work. When I started Smith Corporation, there were many setbacks, and I nearly gave up multiple times. Then I found out my wife was infertile, which was devastating. But I didn't let it get me down and kept focusing on my work. With my wife's support, I was able to keep going. Once I started earning enough, I wanted to help children around the world. Even though we couldn't have children of our own, I felt that helping underprivileged kids gave my life purpose. All through various support activities, I never imagined I'd reconnect with a boy I once helped. Daniel, who was a small boy back then, had grown into a fine young man and now works for our company. Thanks to him, everyone was motivated, and we managed to meet the deadline for Johnson Industries. I may not have biological children, but my employees feel like my family. Even though we're a big company, I want to maintain a family-like atmosphere. I want everyone to feel that working here was a good decision. So, no matter what happens, I'll keep working hard. Even if others ridicule or belittle me, I am who I am. I don't think I'm wrong, and I'll live humbly. Someday, when I'm gone, maybe everyone will remember me fondly. That person is really dumb and incompetent. People like you probably still don't have a decent job, do you? My ex-girlfriend, whom I broke up with about 10 years ago, spat out these words, looking down on me. I can't imagine anyone who ran away from the important bar exam leading a respectable life. Those words made an old wound in my chest ache. But she doesn't know. She doesn't know about my relationship with the person sitting next to me, who heard everything. And I didn't know either. I didn't know the true feelings hidden in her words. I'm Chris, a 35-year-old single man. Today, I'm meeting someone at a fancy hotel lounge. I arrived quite early, so I ordered an iced tea in the lounge. Just 30 more minutes. I checked my watch and opened a news app on my phone to kill time. As I quickly scrolled through the headlines, one article caught my eyes, stopping my finger. Suspect in reckless driving incident in XX district found guilty. The moment I saw those words, I immediately tapped on the article title. I was so focused on reading the article that I didn't even notice when my iced tea was placed in front of me. About 10 years ago, I was attending a prestigious law school. Because my father was a lawyer, I naturally wanted to follow in his footsteps and become a lawyer myself. At that time, I had a girlfriend. Her name was Sarah. She was 2 years younger and attended the same law school. She didn't seem interested in pursuing a legal career, preferring to work in a regular company after graduation. We met at the school library. It all started when we happened to be there at the same time while studying. Is this the book you needed? Some important ones are on high shelves and hard to reach. Yes. Thank you. I helped her get a book she couldn't reach because she was short. Looking back, it feels like a scene from a romantic comic. But back then, I was just helping someone in need without thinking much. After that, we ran into each other at the library a few more times. Oh, hey. Hi. I was so engrossed in my studies that I had very few friends at law school and wasn't good at remembering faces or names. So at first, I thought, have we met before? But after meeting her 5 times, I started to recognize her. Can I sit across from you? Oh, sure. I'm Sarah, a third-year law student. Sarah. Nice to meet you. I'm Chris, a first year in graduate school. Since she introduced herself, I couldn't help but respond with my own introduction. So you are a senior student. Graduate school is impressive. Just the bar exam left. Well, I just started, so who knows how it'll go. The exam prep is tough. What about you, Sarah? Not going to graduate school? I'm planning to get a job after graduating from the law school. Really, that's interesting. Yes. Sorry, I'm probably disturbing your study. I'll leave now. Oh, okay. See you then. I lightly raised my hand and returned my gaze to the reference book. She stood silently for several seconds. I thought she had already left, but when she said, I realized she was still standing next to me, causing me to jump slightly. What? Will you be here tomorrow? Well, probably. But why? Just wondering. Thank you. Bye. She said that and left. From that day on, it seemed she was waiting for me at the library almost every day. I'm not here every day, and I'm not kind enough to come just because someone's waiting. I know. It's just my own satisfaction. But I can't help but hope to see you, Chris. Her words made me start to notice her for the first time. A few months later, after she confessed her feelings, we started dating. My relationship with Sarah was very calm and steady. Since I was busy with school and preparing for the bar exam, we couldn't go out often or have full-day dates. It was a healthy relationship. Although it sounds good, it was hardly ever romantic. We mostly studied together at home or nearby places like the library. Sarah must have had her own thoughts about it, but she always spent time happily without complaining, which was fortunate. As the exam approached, she frequently sent me encouraging messages like, "You'll be fine, Chris. You'll definitely pass, so stay confident." I didn't have time to respond, but I read those messages to motivate myself whenever I took short naps. Sometimes she would bring me snacks, supporting me both physically and mentally. I never thought I was the type to stay motivated because of a relationship. But I was surprised at how much having a girlfriend helped me push myself. Sarah and I, working together like a team, were aiming for the bar exam. Then, one day, as the bar exam approached, Sarah contacted me, saying there was a family emergency, and she would be going back home for a while. Half asleep, I saw the message, jumped out of bed in surprise, and called her immediately. "What's wrong?" "It's rare for you to call," she said with a small laugh. "Don't worry about me, just focus on the exam." "I'll contact you after it's over," she said and quickly hung up. I was worried but decided to focus on the exam as she told me. However, 3 days before the exam, I was walking towards the library as usual. While waiting at an intersection, I heard the unmistakable sound of screeching tires through my headphones. Then, the engine revved at an abnormal speed. I looked up at that sound, and the next moment, I was struck by intense pain and a powerful impact. In my fading consciousness, I heard piercing screams and shouts. Was I hit? Through my barely open eyes, I saw a car with a crumpled front like a toy. Judging by the number of screams, it seemed I wasn't the only one hit. But none of that mattered. The exam. I might not be able to take the exam. I murmured that and lost consciousness. When I woke up next, I was in a hospital bed. In my blurred vision, I only wondered what date it was and what happened to the exam. I tried to get up to find out, but a sharp pain ran through my entire body, preventing me from moving. Apparently, I had a pelvic fracture, and it was a close call. Additionally, I had a broken right arm and multiple bruises and cuts all over my body. Dr. Smith told me I needed complete bed rest for a while. Listen, if you try to move, your pelvis won't heal properly and it'll take longer to recover. Don't even think about getting up. You need to rest completely for now. Yes. After Dr. Smith left the room, I wondered if he had noticed I was thinking about trying to get up again. He warned me once more, and I nodded with a wry smile. When I asked the nurse for the date, she told me I had woken up 2 days after the accident. Which meant, the day I woke up was the day of the bar exam. Feeling an overwhelming sense of emptiness, I was told I couldn't get up for at least 2 weeks. So, my days were spent either sleeping, watching TV, or looking out the window. Spending time without studying for the first time in a while felt like time had almost stopped. During this period, I received a message from Sarah on my phone. She had said she would contact me after the exam was over. Protecting my aching arm, I looked at the screen, and as expected, it was a message asking, "How did the exam go?" I slowly replied, telling her that I had to withdraw. As soon as I turned off the screen, a flurry of messages came in. Why, what happened? Are you okay? Reading those made my head spin. Why? What happened? I wanted to ask the same questions. Unable to sort out my feelings and feeling unwell, I placed my phone on the shelf without replying. For a while, Sarah's messages were filled with concern, but I still couldn't bring myself to respond. As a result, her messages gradually became more accusatory. If you don't reply, I won't understand anything. Why did you give up? But at the time, those words felt like knives stabbing my chest, consuming my heart. A week passed without me being able to reply. Then one day, I received a message from Sarah saying, "You won't even respond. I'm worried, but it seems I'm just a bother to you. Let's break up." That's what Sarah sent me. At that point, I didn't care about anything anymore. Got it. I replied with just those words, and it seemed she blocked me immediately because I never heard from her again. Even after breaking up with Sarah, I stayed in the hospital for a while. During that time, the new year and the academic year changed. Sarah graduated and returned to her hometown. Meanwhile, I had earned all the necessary credits, so I was allowed to graduate and move back to my parents' house. The article I saw on the news app was about the sentencing of the driver from the accident. The suspect, a man with alcoholism, had been found to have alcohol in his system at the time of the accident. It had been a long trial, but I felt relieved that it was finally over. The accident had many victims, and there were fatalities. The trial had been initiated by the families of the deceased. As a result, it was a trial that had garnered national attention. After finishing the article, I exhaled and looked up. Seeing the condensation on the iced tea glass, I remembered ordering it and took a sip. Then, I met the gaze of a woman sitting at the table across from me. "Chris? Sarah?" It was Sarah. Even though she had always been a mature and beautiful woman, the Sarah in front of me had become even more attractive with age and sophistication. Noticing me, Sarah stood up and walked towards me, her high heels clicking against the floor. "What are you doing here?" Her voice didn't sound happy to see me. "This isn't a place for someone like you to be. I'm meeting someone." "Meeting someone? You, Chris? In a place like this?" "Yeah. This is so out of place for you." Sarah looked down on me as she said this. Even though it was true that I was meeting someone, there was nothing I could do about her comment. While I was at a loss for words, Sarah started criticizing me for withdrawing from the bar exam. "Back then, you just ran away because you weren't confident you'd pass, right? It's awful. You never replied to my messages. And when you finally did, it was just to agree to break up. It's completely inconsiderate. I truly regret that. Apologizing now is too late." She spat those words, and she was right. Running into her again was just a coincidence, but it was indeed too late to apologize now. It was just self-satisfaction on my part. However, I didn't think I deserved to be mocked with people like you probably still don't have a decent job, do you? I'm meeting my fiancé here. He's a lawyer who passed the bar exam on his first try, is great at sports, and never slacks off. Unlike you. He's a wonderful person. While it's impressive, that applies to her fiancé, not Sarah. Although I thought this, I restrained myself and said, "I see. That's impressive." Seeing me nod politely seemed to improve her mood slightly. A few minutes later, I heard a man's voice saying, "Sarah? Sorry to keep you waiting," and her expression brightened instantly. "Alex." "Alex?" The name sounded familiar, so I looked in the direction Sarah was staring. And then, "What?" Her fiancé looked at me in shock. "Chris. Good to see you." He greeted me, a person I knew well. "You don't need to be too formal." "Sorry, I was just surprised." "Do you two know each other?" As he looked between me and Sarah in confusion, Sarah disdainfully said, "He's an old acquaintance. This person is really dumb and incompetent. He was originally aspiring to be a lawyer too, but he bailed on the bar exam. He ignored all my messages, didn't explain why. And I was so furious I cut ties with him. How can you trust someone like that?" As Sarah continued to badmouth me, Alex's face grew increasingly pale. Before she could say more, he impulsively covered her mouth. Please. Please stop it. He pleaded, but Sarah forcibly removed his hand and shouted, What are you doing? What's your problem? With a sigh, Alex said, Chris is my boss at the firm. His name is Alex. Indeed, he is my subordinate. Sarah probably didn't know that. She looked shocked. Alex, meanwhile, was seating Sarah, saying, I never thought you'd be this mean. I didn't know. Sarah sneered, Sorry to disappoint you, but I've always been like this. It's your fault for being fooled. Alex, still pale, asked, So all the kindness and care you showed were lies? You were too easy. Just a little bit of niceness, and you'd follow me around like a puppy. I only pretended to be the woman you wanted because you're a lawyer and seemed rich. No way. I started to panic as their relationship became more strained. As their argument heated up, Alex finally said, Can we call off the engagement? Sarah's drastic change must have been a huge shock for him. I tried to step between them, but Sarah coldly said, Fine. Let's do that. How did it come to this? Thinking that, I tried to calm them down, saying, Both of you, just calm down. I'm calm. And so am I. Sarah retorted, but it was getting nowhere. As they refused to even look at each other and the tension escalated, I reluctantly spoke up. Sarah. What is it? There's something I never told you. I picked up an item leaning against the table. It was a walking aid. I started using it after the accident. Without it, I couldn't walk straight. 3 days before the bar exam, I was in a car accident. I was told to rest completely and couldn't even get out of bed. That's why I had to withdraw from the bar exam. The aftermath of that accident still affects me, and I can't walk properly without this. Sarah looked down, but I continued speaking quietly. The treatment and rehabilitation were tough. I felt like giving up many times. But I wanted to investigate the accident myself. And I decided to pursue becoming a lawyer. I couldn't take the bar exam the following year because I was still in rehab. But I passed the year after that and became a lawyer. Since then, I have been working at a law firm, handling various cases. Meanwhile, I kept investigating my accident. I knew that long ago. Sarah muttered, her voice trembling. Tears fell onto her clenched fists resting on her knees. You both knew, didn't you? That my father caused that accident. She looked up, tears in her eyes, glaring at us. I found out. My parents were already divorced and living separately, so I didn't know where my father was or what he was doing. But when I saw the news about the accident, I realized it. I heard from school friends that you were involved in the accident. I was terrified, thinking the accident had ruined your future. Then, the media started swarming our house, asking questions whenever we showed our faces. It was so hard. Being labeled as the daughter of that man made people look at me with disgust. Knowing that his blood ran through my veins terrified and devastated me. So, I decided I never wanted you to know. I thought you'd be disgusted if you found out. I was scared you'd hate me. That's why I broke up with you and blocked you. My mom and I moved away. Almost like running away in the middle of the night, and finally, we could live in peace. The truth that came out of Sarah's mouth was shocking. But, yes, Alex and I knew about that. We knew about it. While investigating the accident, I discovered the driver's family background. When I realized the connection, I wanted to contact you, Sarah. But your friends from school couldn't reach you either. No one knew where you were, so I gave up. That's a lie. Why would you want to contact me? To tell you that you didn't need to feel guilty or responsible. I knew about it too. I met you 3 months ago and started dating you, but I found out about the accident recently. Actually, today, I was going to talk to you about it. 3 months ago, Alex had been unusually restless, telling me he was pursuing a paralegal at another law firm. I didn't realize that person was Sarah, but I knew Alex had mentioned that she seemed to have some troubles. While I was investigating, Alex must have found out about Sarah's connection to the accident and looked into it. Even you, Alex. Why? For the same reason as Chris. Sarah, you always looked like you'd given up on something. That bothered me. Families of offenders often face societal scorn and self-blame, even though they're not at fault. As a lawyer, I've seen many such families struggling. So I wanted to help you. Help me? That's a lie. We were responsible for that accident too. If we had helped my father, who was an alcoholic, sought proper treatment, or taken him to the hospital, that accident might not have happened. It's the responsibility of my entire family. Meeting you, going on dates, and feeling loved made me truly happy. But I have to carry the burden of that accident for the rest of my life. I can't be happy. Society won't allow it. I have to be hated and resented. That's not true. It is. I came here today to break off the engagement. I love you, Alex, but I can't cause you any more trouble. So I decided to act like the worst person to make you hate me. Seeing Sarah's helpless smile, Alex gently pulled her close. Lawyers can't marry the daughter of a criminal, right? I wanted you to forget about me. Why are you so kind to me? Why are you kind to someone like me? That's not true, Sarah. What's not true? It doesn't matter if you're the daughter of a criminal. I was shocked to hear you insult Chris. But if it was an act to make me leave, it's different. I don't intend to break up with you just because you're a criminal's daughter. Alex, what are you saying? It may sound too convenient, but after hearing your story, I realized that no matter what anyone says, I still love you. I want to support you and walk beside you, no matter what. Tears quietly fell from Sarah's eyes. Our firm doesn't care if a lawyer's family members are criminals or gangsters. As long as they are honest and don't harm our staff. That's all that matters. Ah, boss, it's only you would say something like that these days. Huh? Boss? I told you I got recruited by a new firm a year ago, right? That was Chris's newly established firm. We worked together at the previous firm. And when he asked, I joined him. Right, Chris? Well, I guess that's how it turned out. But you were constantly hinting at wanting to join me, so I had no choice but to ask, I said with a grin. Back then, I was overwhelmed with the details of starting my own practice, managing cases, and handling transitions. I was too busy to even consider whether to hire someone or go it alone. During those hectic days, Alex was constantly signaling his interest in joining me. Was that how it was? Well, even if you hadn't asked, I would have followed you forcefully, so it wouldn't have changed anything. You really know how to plan things. You were happy I came along, admit it. Ha, you got me. Laughing like kids, it was clear I wouldn't have left behind such a devoted subordinate. Considering the whirlwind of the past year since I started my own firm, I was genuinely grateful to have Alex by my side. Now, our firm relies heavily on Alex, and I must keep working hard to ensure he never loses faith in me. So, Sarah, you don't need to worry. Besides, Alex has got a strong character and a steady mind. You can be honest with your feelings. I gave up too quickly when I couldn't reach you back then. If I hadn't, maybe things would be different, but that's another story. Alex, I'd be happy if you never gave up on Sarah, no matter what. Although, it's odd for me to say that. You two look great together. And that reassures me. As I smiled at them, Sarah broke down in tears. I'm so sorry for everything. I caused you so much trouble and hurt you deeply, both then and now. I've always wanted to apologize. I'm truly sorry. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Sarah, I don't hold it against you. Alex might be reckless and quick-tempered, but he has a strong sense of justice and is a good guy. He's a great lawyer and an even better person, and I can vouch for that. So, please take care of him. Sarah nodded in agreement, still apologizing through her tears. Unsure how to console her, I was relieved when Alex gently put his arm around her shoulders. But Alex, now crying himself, added to the emotional scene. Wait, why are you crying, Alex? Feeling it was all a bit much, I couldn't help but laugh. Chris? A voice called my name, and I turned around. I remembered that I had come here today for a meeting. I apologize for the delay. Were you in the middle of something? Oh, no. I ran into my subordinate, and we ended up talking. Sorry about that. No, it's perfectly fine. I'm the one who kept you waiting. The woman I was meeting was stunningly beautiful. Seeing her, both Alex and Sarah stopped crying, their tears drying up in surprise. This is Alex, our firm's star, and his fiancée. Nice to meet you. I'm Sophia, the owner of this hotel. Nice to meet you. I'm Alex, a lawyer at Anderson Law Office. Nice to meet you. I'm Sarah. Sophia gracefully greeted them, her beauty causing the two of them to awkwardly respond. Actually, I had been contracted as the legal advisor for this hotel's affiliate company. Today, I was meeting with Sophia to discuss the details of that contract. Congratulations on your engagement. Have you decided on a wedding venue yet? There's a bridal salon on the third floor. Would you like to take a look? Caught off guard by the sales pitch, the two of them hesitated and tried to decline, but Sophia persisted. Please, at least try the food samples. Eventually, they gave in to Sophia's insistence and, with their tear-streaked faces, headed up to the third floor together. Thinking about their upcoming wedding brought a smile to my face. Later, Sarah's father was sentenced to 15 years in prison. He will also receive treatment for alcoholism. I don't know how the victims who initiated the trial felt about the verdict, but I hope it brings them some solace. Alex smiled and said he plans to support Sarah and her father as much as possible to prevent such an incident from happening again. I intend to arrange support through organizations and government services for them. As for me, work is going very well. Alex's enthusiasm after his wedding led to significant achievements, and now he's even more highly regarded than me, the head of the office. Determined not to be outdone by his diligent work, I straightened my back with renewed resolve. And then, a few months later. Alex, Sarah, congratulations. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Alex and Sarah's wedding was held at the hotel we had discussed. They had wanted a small ceremony with only family, so the attendees were very few and close. Thankfully, I was invited despite not being family. Seeing the two of them smiling happily warmed my heart. Being the daughter of a criminal doesn't mean she can't be happy. Of course, if a crime is committed, it must be atoned for. But everyone has the right to be happy. As I watched the two of them exchange their vows, I prayed that their future would be filled with happiness.